Hey, I'm Jordan. I'm from Mississauga, Ontario. Born in Scarborough initially. I lived in Toronto for a few years, and I've been here in Hamilton since 2019. Currently, I play bass and do backing vocals in both Deadly Game and Gavel. I play guitar in a new project that's very slowly coming together, and I'm also co-founder of Steel City Hardcore. All right, so my main influences, personal and musical, I guess it would kind of tie in together. When I was 12 years old, um, like going in between grade 6 and grade 7, in school for the music program, you could either choose band or you could choose choir. Um, I chose band and initially wanted to play saxophone and like clarinet and all that shit. Um, and they told us at the time that like saxophone was the most popular instrument, so it was actually my dad who said, like, why don't you try playing bass instead? And I said, what the fuck is bass?
Yeah.
And then that was it. We went to a shop in Streetsville. What was it called? Strings Attached. They had like a package where you buy like a starter bass and a gig bag and a little like shitty square amp, and that was it. 2002, and I've been playing ever since. So, kind of linking off that last question, when I first started playing music, like the influence from my parents, like my mom was big into like U2 and James and like the more easy listening stuff. My dad was into classic rock like Zeppelin, AC/DC, so that's kind of what I started playing. And it was just like a slow transition from being like, okay, this band is a little heavier, this band's a little faster, and that's kind of what got me into punk. So I think when I was like 14 years old, I was like into skate punk, like NoFX and Lagwagon, that sort of stuff. And then I got into more like heavy music. Um, and then, yeah, throughout that mix, found hardcore somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Um, that was it. So, first concert I ever attended was Summer Sanitarium. I think it was 2003. It was like June 2003 or something like that. So it was Metallica, Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park, Deftones, and Mudvayne. So we got there like right as Mudvayne finished, um, and then Deftones had just released Minerva was like the single
Yep.
at that point, and they started with that, so it has like that kind of gentle intro, and then when the whole band kicks in, like I still remember that feeling of like the kick drum
Yeah.
like concussing you, and that's that's the moment that got me like into live
Nice.
music. Yeah.
Nice.
And then what was the second part? The favorite first hardcore
First,
show
yeah, first
or like
hardcore show.
local show?
Yeah.
I used to go to shows like when I was living in Mississauga. At that time, I started going to shows at the Masonic Lodge
Mhm.
in Streetsville. Those are just kind of like random, like mixed bills, a lot of like scrams and like experimental stuff. I only managed to actually to go to two shows there before that venue got shut down. And then around that time is when I had to start going to like other cities for shows. The first one you could say is a hardcore show was it was Holly Springs Disaster. They had just released that last album that was kind of like the one with Up in Smoke, whatever it was called. They were touring that, and then they were playing with Arise and Ruin, the Riviera Heist. There's another band in there somewhere, and then King of Kings opened the show, and that was like my first show that it was in like a church basement. It was like a
Nice.
non-traditional venue. It was amazing. Huge fight broke out, but it was like, yeah, it was just so good. All right, so favorite shows ever. I would say that Holly Springs show I just mentioned because that was like my introduction to like heavy local shows where the crowd was insanely rowdy.
Yeah.
Um, and that was, the moment when I was like, okay, I like live music, but like this is the type of the experience I want when I'm going to see live music. Like at one point, the entire floor was just a mosh pit. It was insane. Um, I would say the second one would have been like the first Hold Your Ground Fest that happened last year, 2022. That was like the first, music festival, like multi-day music festival I've ever been to. So the experience there was amazing because it felt like all the way throughout, I guess the end of 2021 and into 2022 is when the local scene really started coming back and really thriving. Yeah. And then to have all these bigger out of town, like hardcore bands come through and being there and seeing so many people that I'd met over the last year all in one place, it was amazing. And it was so cool to have like representation of all the local brands. Like we had New Damage set up a table, Josh from Wormwood set up a table. It was just like a celebration of the culture, and just to see that happening so close to home was amazing. I would say the third favorite show was when Gavel played in Montreal for the first time. This was August 2022, last year. We played under an overpass. I think it was in the Mill End neighborhood. We didn't really know like what we were getting into. We had just seen footage of this one show under the bridge, and it looked crazy. So of course we showed up. We started like setting up at this one spot close to an established outdoor venue, and the first band, Deadbolt, got like 2 songs in, and the promoter Seb Elborn, got a call from this venue, and the venue told them like, okay, we can hear you guys. If you keep going, we're gonna call the cops. So everybody stopped. Everybody picked up one piece of gear, and we moved the show like 100 meters a little further away, like further down like this overpass, set back up, continued playing, and it just went off. There were probably 200 people there. It was just like a random Friday night in the summer. The weather was beautiful. Everyone showed up and went crazy. Like people were doing like somersaults and cartwheels and everything when we were playing. It was just such an amazing experience, and that really forged a lot of the connection that we have with like what became the Montreal Madhouse and Hardcore Collective. So just an amazing experience. Yeah. Craziest shit I've ever seen at a show. It was recently. It was Spirit of Vengeance, Reality Denied, Big Deal, Enemy of God, Cold Shoulder, packed into the Doors pub. It was probably the most violent show I've been at. Spirit of Vengeance started, and like from their first note, the ring out, like people just went absolutely fucking ape, just beating the shit out of each other. At one point, Enemy of God were playing, and I wasn't even moshing. I just walked over to a crowd of people and just started smacking people. But it's consensual violence, That's that's what we're trying to do. But that was probably the craziest shit. It was just the intensity of like the crowd, the enthusiasm in the room. Every band killed it at the show, and like, there's no bad blood. Like everyone was just having a good time. It was all smiles. That was probably the craziest shit I've ever seen, was that show. All right, past and current bands. So I started playing in a band. Like I started playing music or playing bass 2002, like I mentioned, and I started playing shows when I was like 14. They were just like random, like shows like at people's birthday parties or in Mississauga type of thing. That was kind of like a pop punky-ish band, skate pop punk, I guess. Yeah. That band fizzled. We found a vocalist, and we started playing, like kind of more shows like in cities around us in Mississauga. So we played Georgetown, Brampton. We played Hamilton once. Played Toronto a few times. So that band was active from like 2008 to 2012 was our last show in Mississauga. And then I started playing in a band called Wolves, which was a Toronto-based band. We were like Converge influenced. We played mainly Toronto. We played Brampton like once or twice. We played Windsor a few times. That band was only active for 2 years. Our vocalist then left to go live in England. And then I was asked to join a band based out of Brampton. That band like played, I don't know, maybe 5 shows in the course of like 3 years. Never had like a solid member lineup. We recorded like instrumental demos, but never got to the point of having like vocals on it, and it eventually just kind of fizzled. And then I was like not even really playing music for a while. I kind of stopped going to shows, like kind of fell out of like that realm. I was jamming with my brother who plays drums in Gavel and Deadly Game. He's into like fusion and like jazz and shit, so he like had me come and jam with him and a few of his buddies like a couple times, and it's not really my cup of tea. They're all like way more talented at their instruments than I was, so I felt like intimidated like going to jam with them. I only did it a few times, and then eventually it was just like, nah, I'm not really interested. And then I was asked to join Deadly Game. It was like 2018, I think. From that high school band, I knew Jay Doriot. He hit me up. And then that is kind of what happened there. We started jamming for a bit. Eventually Jay left the band, and then my brother Greg joined the band. Obviously Deadly Game's still active. And then right before the pandemic hit, I started Gavel with Kyle. And then we've just been, gigging that band since, obviously COVID came and kind of ruined things, but we started jamming in 2021, and then played our first show at the Kill Room September of 2021. It was crazy. And then, like I mentioned earlier, I'm playing guitar in a project that's slowly coming together with members of Rust. Let's just leave it at that. I don't want to give too much away yet because it's still in its early phases, but yeah, we'll see. And then Steel City Hardcore kind of came together, what was that, 2002? 2001? Do you remember what year it was? It was throughout the pandemic.
Yeah.
I actually forgot like how we
2021. You said 2001.
Oh yeah,
So,
2021 would make more sense. I actually kind of forgot like how we initially started talking about it, Rob. It was
after that bridge show.
Yeah, that show in like the Viaduct in
LA.
In LA.
Yeah, with the fire pits and the
I think
fireball.
Section Hate were the
that's-
band that were playing.
That's who it was.
They had like the crazy mosh pits where people were lighting bonfires, shooting fireworks at like the cop helicopters, and Rob and I are like, we need this in Hamilton. So
Haymaker.
yeah, yeah. So that's kind of how Steel City Hardcore came together. Kind of took us a while to like get it off the ground, but that's been going, I guess, officially since like September of 2022.
Nice.
There you go. Okay, what I like most about being in a band, first and foremostly, is just playing live, because it just, takes you to a whole nother place. You just get in the zone. It's like you just get like a rush of adrenaline, and before you know it, like the moment is over, but it feels like forever when it's happening. So there's just something about, being on stage and performing that, just can't be replaced. That's the number one. But then there's also the community around it, the people you meet, the places you get to go, the venues you get to play in and see. It's just all part of the package. And recording music too. That's up there. But the main, the biggest thing that I love is playing and performing live. What I dislike about it is how much fucking money it can cost. Especially with bass, like bass strings are so expensive for a pack. There's always another piece of gear that you see or you hear and you got to have it for yourself. All the maintenance included, like getting a setup, like buying new cables, batteries, all that shit. That's probably the part that I hate the most. Mainly because, like, you'll get a setup you enjoy, and then, you see that new piece of gear, and you're like, well, fuck, now, like, I need to get that. Yeah, that's the part I hate the most, is you never seem to have exactly what you want, and what you do want is just, it seems so out of reach. Yeah. Before I get to my favorite food, I'm gonna tack on to the Taco Bell theme. Never had Taco Bell. Yeah, never had it. Yeah, honestly. So if you want to go after this, you could take my Taco Bell cherry, man. Yeah, never had Taco Bell. Favorite food? I don't know if I could pin it down to one. I like to cook at home, but I always like kind of go through like phases of like I'll have one ingredient that I'm like, or one like flavor that I'm like really like big on, and then it'll kind of change, and then I won't be into cooking as much, and then I'll go back and do it. But I'm a sucker for fast food, so I probably have to just go with like fried chicken with pickles. Because that is such a deadly combination. It's like cookies and milk. I don't know if you've ever tried it, but like,
No.
yeah, anytime, like, there's a spot, it's a chain, but there's a location in just across from Mac called Quick Chick.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like a fried chicken place, but it's like better than like Popeyes, KFC.
Nice.
Like they do like the whole like butter biscuit, dude.
Nice.
Oh, it's so good. But like anytime we order from there, like I have a jar of pickles in the fridge, and I'll like just demolish half of it, like at the same time, because it's just an immaculate combination.
Chicken and pickles.
Yeah, fried chicken and pickles. That's probably what I'm gonna go with.
Nice.
Okay, my useless talent. I can burp on command. Let's see. There you go. Man.
I fucked that up.
I'll do it again. Watch. I'll prove it's on command. Hold on. Oh. It didn't work. You got the first one, though. Fuck it.